Hello friends, and welcome of you to video number 4 of our course, building a website application using the Spring Boot. Now this is the second video that we will talk about the front end, and it will be the last video talking about the front end. From the next video we will talk all about the back end, which is the real work, which is the main backbone of the when you build any website. So let's dive in. One thing to notice, I want to tell you that you don't have to worry about this code, because you will, once you subscribe to this course, you will get the entire code. I will send it with the, when you subscribe, you can get the entire code of building a website. Okay, having said that, let's dive in. There are a few things we want to talk about in this video. Few enhancements when you build a website. For instance, see enhancements in terms of speeding up your website response, and also making the load over your server less and less. For instance, when a user login, usually it will enter an email and a password. Now this email and the password have to be checked, not whether the user is registered in the database or no. No, there is a sequence for an email, the format of the email, and let me show you what I mean. Let's say my email. Now it doesn't matter whether this email is registered in the database or no. Now we are talking about the sequence of this, the format of this email, and you can see that the format of the email is Word, @Word, dot, and then Word. This is the right sequence of any email in the world. A Word, @Word, dot, and then a Word. So we need to check when the user enter his email, we need to check that this sequence has been met, this sequence matching the right sequence of an email. This is what we are talking about. Now usually how this thing is being checked, usually there is a dependency which is called Hibernate Validator. We added this dependency, has some classes which we will create inside these classes some formats, some sequences, that this entered email will be checked against those sequences, and accordingly we'll decide whether this sequence the user entered is correct or no. Now this process all is be done in the server side. So anytime the user enter his email, the checking of the sequence of the email will be done in the server side. Now obviously this will be cost because the server will be overloaded with these requests. The server will check using these classes, these validator classes, to see if this sequence matching the right sequence, the right format, or no. If it's no, it will be sent a message back to the user telling the user that this sequence is wrong, this email format is wrong, you have to correct it. So you see this process will overload the work of the server, and consequently it will partially slow the work of the server, and accordingly it will slow the response of your website. Now there is, to improve and to make better speed for your website and to minimize the load over the server, we will use a JavaScript file that will immediately give us whether this sequence is correct or not correct. And we will use this file in the front end, without the need to consult the server, without the need to use the server. And this way, as I said, it will make less work on the server and faster response for your website. Now as you can see here, I'm already using this in my website, so immediately this sequence is correct. So now it gave me the correct sign. And again, we are not talking whether this email is registered in the database, this account is registered. No, we are not talking about this. We are talking about the sequence, the format of the email. That's it. So let's see when I remove the @ now this sequence is not correct, is not the format of an email. So what will happen? Immediately I will get a wrong response that this sequence is wrong, and the user can see it immediately, and he or she need to correct the sequence and add the @ This way immediately you will know, the user know, that he entered the right format. Now where is this JavaScript? We will see the JavaScript and how it will work. Okay, this is the file, the JavaScript that we will implement. Basically, we will add this file at any page that uses this login form. Any page has a login form, and we need to change the entry, the data enter. We can use this file. This is the file. We have to add it to verify the field's inputs. So we need to add it in any page that has a login form, so we can validate that the sequence of the email, the sequence of the password. By the way, we can check also password, check name, first name, last name, anything. We can place a sequence and check it accordingly. So we add the file in the page, and then we will see, let's see these sequences. By the way, this is a function, and these sequences are ready-made sequences, and you can find a lot of them over the internet. If you can Google about the sequences, about the regex sequences, you can find a lot of them, and not necessarily this sequence. You can find many other sequences, and you can implement them when you do the validation. I selected this sequence for the email, which, as you can see, it has the first part, the word, the @, then a second part, then a dot, then another word. This is the sequence for the checking the entered email, and this is the sequence for any word. If you want to check the login form or the user ID, if you want to check a first name, you can use this sequence. Last name, any sequence, any entered data, you can check its sequence by making this pre-made, ready-made sequences, which is available, as I said, over the internet. These are the sequences. Now, how we will implement them, how we will check the entered data in the login form, how we will compare them to the sequence. Now we will create this implementation for whether it's a user ID, whether it's an email, sorry. This implementation will take the data, the entered data, and it will check it against the sequence, the ready-made sequence. So for instance, if I have an email, I will check it against, I will put some conditions, and I will check it against this sequence. If it matches, then fine, that means this login for this email is correct. If it doesn't match, that means this email is not correct, email format is not correct, and I will get a red sign in here. The same thing you can use with the name. If a user ID, the login form, let's say your user login. Also, I can put some conditions in here in the implementation, and I can check it with the name for the user ID. And the same thing you can apply for a password. Supposedly, let's say we have a password. So this is the password implementation. The password should be no less than 6 and not much than, this is the conditions that we will put in the implementation. It should not be less than 6 and not more than 12. And immediately it will be validated whether the password matches these terms, these conditions or not. So this is the entire process of checking and validating the entered data in the login form. Now, from where we get this? So you might ask, from where we get this email, this ID, this email, this data, how we will get them, from where we will get them, so we can compare them against the ready-made sequences. If you go to the fragments, we have created a fragment for the login form. As you can see here, this is the fragment of the login form, which is represent the design of the login form. This is the fragment, which is called index form. Now, in this index form, there are two IDs. We will give an email. Of course, this is the login, so you have to have email and a password. Normally, this is the login, an email and a password. We will give an ID to the email, and we will give an ID to the password. This ID, we will use it in here. We will refer to it in here, and this will take the data from the login form and it will compare it against the sequences that we have made in here. This is the entire process, and the result, we will see it in the login form, whether it's correct immediately, whether it's correct or not correct, without the need to consult, without the need to contact the server, implementing the validator classes, without doing all of this. And obviously this is a much better way, and it will enhance the response of the website. Now the second point to improve the performance of your website in terms of security is implementing the reCAPTCHA. Now the reCAPTCHA will prevent the netbot, the computers that will work on your website and cause it to slow down. They call the netbot, which is will make this case, which is the denial of service, the DDoS attacks, the denial of service. Because if a netbot attacks your website, at the end of it, the service of your website will be denied, and your users will not be able to access to your website. So it's a better thing if you use the reCAPTCHA. The reCAPTCHA will make sure that this thing won't happen. Now there are lots of videos on the YouTube how to build a reCAPTCHA. I'm not going to the much of it details, but I will just show you exactly how you will implement the creating a reCAPTCHA. Now for the reCAPTCHA, there are two sides, the front end and the back end. In the front end, there are two things you need to add. This thing, this line of code, you add it in the HTML file, in the head of the HTML, not in the body, in the head. And you add it in any page you wish to use the reCAPTCHA in that page. Usually in the login form, but the login form, you can use it in any page. So you need to add this line of form in the front end. This is the first one in the front end. This is this line of code. There's another thing you need to add also in the front end, which is the side key, what is called the side key. Now we have put the reCAPTCHA as usual in the login form. So this is the reCAPTCHA div. We need to add this line as well as in the reCAPTCHA div, and this is the side key. Now make sure that and I will show you how you can get the keys, the side key and this site secret key. This is the site key, and you have, whether it's for a website or for a local host, you have to generate it for your own self. Now this key, as you see it, this is a key that I have generated for my own local host. In your case, you need to generate your site key and your secret key for your local host or for your website. But in general, this is the second thing that you need to add in the front end. So two things in the front end: this line, which consists of the site key that you have to generate for yourself, for your local host or your website, and this line of code which you will add also in the HTML, in any HTML that you wish to add the reCAPTCHA to it. This is from the front side. At the end, at the back end, we will do it as well at the implementation. When a login want to happen, when a user want to log in, there is an implementation, there is a method at the controller. We have to set it up. At the beginning of this method, we will add these 3 lines of code that will trigger the implementation of the reCAPTCHA. This one, and this one. Now, we will explain it in brief when we reach to the back-end details from next video. But for now, this is the site secret key, this one, which also you have to generate for your own local host or your own website. Now this is for my own local host. I have generated it, and right now I will show you how you can generate these things. Okay, so these 2 parts, the back end part and the front end part, which have two lines. Now where we can get these secret keys, these keys from where, how can generate them. Now if you Google reCAPTCHA, you will get these 2 things. As you can see here at the front end, which we have implemented this line, which was this line. You just copy paste, nothing more, nothing less, copy paste. And this line, which contains the site key, you have to generate the site key, and you have to add it, as we have said, in here. This is the line, but make sure that you generate your own site key. Now, how to generate these site keys? It's pretty easy. As again, also, if you Google the reCAPTCHA, you will get this page, and you go to the admin console. For your own account, you have to enter to your account, and then you enter the settings. Here you will get this. You can either generate a site key and a secret key for the local host, or your own website. For instance, for my own website, you can generate also. So either you'll generate for a local host or for your own website, and you can get the 2 keys: the site key, which you will use in the front end, and the site secret key, which you will use in the back end. This is the entire process of creating the reCAPTCHA, and it will work perfectly, as you can see in here. Now, this the second thing that will we have added it to improve the performance of your website. The reCAPTCHA will protect you from the DDoS attacks, which will slow your website response. Okay. Now one more thing, if we wish to when we minimize the size of the website to fit a smartphone. Now in the desktop mode, you can see that the links for the pages are residing one next to the other. When we minimize the website to fit a mobile phone or a smartphone size, these links should be gathered in a what's so called a burger icon. When you press this burger icon, the links will show up in here. So how we can do this is simply by using this is the burger icon, which is also done by JavaScript, and also you can have a lot of implementations for this burger icon. I choose this one. You can Google it and you can find many of them. This will be implemented on the burger icon class, which we can find it in the header fragment. In the header fragment we have a burger icon class, which is this one, and this will be implemented whenever we minimize the screen size and to fit a smartphone screen size. So this, the burger icon, will turn to become just like this one. This is the second one, another thing, and there is another thing. On the desktop mode you see that these links shows in here, but we can do like this. When we scroll, this area will show up, and the reason we want to do this, that if this area doesn't show, when we scroll up the website, these things will cover up the page's links. In this case we will not be able to navigate to the other pages. So the only solution we can do this is that we create this area, which is the scroll area. In this case, when we go up, the navigation list will remain visible and we can navigate to other pages. And this issue can be done with this scroll header, also the JS, and also there are many implementation for this. I selected this one, and you have to implement it on an ID. You have to give the class an ID. I choose this name, and also in the fragments you can select the scroll where okay, you can, on the header you can add this ID here, and in this case the scroll.js file will be implemented on the header, and whenever you scroll the website, this area will show up and will prevent the navigation list from disappearing, and the links will disappear. As you can see, this is the way. This is one of the things that to enhance the performance of your website. Okay, now I believe this is the most part. For the most part, we talked about the front end and some certain points which is we implemented to enhance the performance of the website. From the next video we will talk about the back end, which is the most important part, which is this one, where we will implement the controllers, the DAO, the models, the repositories, and all these things, except that we will not do the security. We will not implement the Spring security in this course. I will make another course. The next course we will implement the Spring security on a Spring Boot application, and how we will secure our website using the Spring security. So in this course we will just talk about the Spring Boot, how we will implement these classes, these packages, except for the security. Okay. Thank you so much.